This episode's a good one. I'm excited to bring this one to you. This is with Hrishi, who's a student at Long Island University, which obviously I have a good connection to. We dive into what it's like to be a student athlete, how Hrishi got there, but also one of the things that really brought me and connected me to him is what he's doing as a leader in university as a representative for student athletes, and he bridges the gap to the academic side, the administration side. For someone who is still so young and figuring out life, he's really finding a way to leverage his experiences and his position as a student athlete to better not only his experience and his connections, but also all the other student athletes that might not even know the amount of work that someone like Hrishi and those who help him along with the SAAC committee that he's on at LIU. So take a listen to this if you have any interest. Being a student athlete or have a student athlete sibling or a child, this is a great look inside. But on the other side of this is also a great introduction to a young man who's doing really great things and is going to be successful moving forward. Enjoy the show. I'm really excited. We have Hrishi Shah with us here. Hrishi is somebody that I met on LinkedIn, believe it or not. And one of the things that initially led me to you is you're at LIU, and that's, for everyone who knows me, that's where I finished my playing career. Although I was in Brooklyn, man, I was a Blackbird, but changed a little bit over when a lot of teams came to CW Post. So I'm interested to hear kind of what your experience is out there. But first of all, Hrishi, thanks a lot for coming on the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And it's great talking to an alumnus who, graduated from Brooklyn, but I mean, we're
Yeah,
we're in LIU here.
facts always. That's for sure. So, Rishi's he's currently in college. What year are you in?
I'm a junior right now,
Junior.
so
Okay,
I'm going into my sixth semester.
love that. So, for the people who are listening, give a short description. Student athlete. What do you do? What do you major in? Tell us a little bit about who you are today.
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of I try to do a lot of things on campus, outside of campus. But to start off, I'm a math and finance major. Originally, I wanted to become an astrophysicist. Funny enough, but I kind of like transitioned into mathematics, like went into pure math and kind of like it. Went into like the applied side of math, and now I'm trying to do like a little bit of like coding, so like bring everything together. And then
Awesome.
finance is always, good. I've come from a business family, so, kind of had a background growing up. Um, Other things that I like to, or at least I try to do on campus is I'm an RA on campus. I'm a part of the crew team, which we'll get into definitely
Hmm.
through this podcast. I'm the SAC president for Post, and I have my counterpart, who's Emma, over at the Brooklyn campus. And then collectively we run a committee for representatives from 38 Division 1 sports teams. And then we also have like spirit teams like marching band, cheer, dance team, stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'm a part of the student investment fund in like the business department here.
Hmm.
I'm a physics tutor on campus. I work at the store Browse, which is like an extension of IT here at LIU Post.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
that's who I am.
That's Now I think people who've been college athletes would really appreciate everything you just named off because being a college athlete is a full time job within itself, right? Like
Right,
you are
definitely.
fully tuned in, but obviously we'll dive into it a little bit more. But you also sound like you have a passion for being involved in leadership and that which is incredible. So first, for those of us that don't know much about crew, what does that look like? When is the season? When is the off season practices? Like how does that work? What does it look like a regular year?
That's funny that you mentioned that you don't really know what crew is. I mean, you might have like an idea from like the Olympics or something. To be very honest with you, I didn't know what it was.
Hmm.
Like until the point that I like joined the team. I mean, I thought it was just like first of all, like the thing that threw me off was it's like a lot of legs, a lot of like
Yeah.
lower body rather than upper body, which is like a little like counterintuitive to a lot of people. Um, I'll give you like a background how I got into it. Freshman year, my roommate, he was a wrestler. And he got recruited on the wrestling team, and then unfortunately he transferred to NYU, but we still keep in touch.
Hmm.
One day, like I never had like an athletic background or anything. Like I just, I like to run. Like I
Yeah.
called myself like a cross country kid, but like I never did it like competitively. I did a little bit of like volleyball growing up, a little bit of badminton,
Hmm.
back in high school, but nothing, really like I like a varsity kind of level in America. And I'm from India, so they have like a different sort of like categorization.
Yeah.
Um, but crew one day, he just came into the room. He's like, "Yo, what you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, like watching the movie. Like, why you ask? Like, none of your business." I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were going
Yeah.
back and forth. He's like, "Yeah, you're like a little like scrawny kid, very short. I think you should join a team." I'm like, "All right, like, sure." Because
Yeah.
I had like, I was just like getting accustomed to like the college atmosphere, a different country, different people, different sort of living style.
Hmm.
Um, I looking back at that, I don't really like know why I did it. But I'm grateful to myself in the past that I did it. Went to like one of the meetings, where like I had a practice in the morning. We talked to the coach, and then, she put me on the machine, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing for the
Yeah.
first like a month or something? But gradually, and I'm grateful to like, have stayed on the team. It came naturally to me in the later stage of like the sport. Um, and I totally understand a lot of your viewership might be, athletes who my God couldn't for college, or like they've been playing the sport for like 10-ish years. So like I really respect um you guys, and then what you've like, accomplished getting into college, or even coming out of college. But
Hmm.
I, as like a non like competitive person, getting into athletics was really, really exciting for me. And then, to answer a question, I went on like a little sidetrack, but
No, that's fine.
um pro is, a lot of people perceive it as like a, rich sport, like an elite kind of like Ivy League sport. Like that's is like what you think about. But honestly, like I've come across a lot of people with it's a really like non-impact sport. So like a lot of people with injuries, a lot of people are like disability, like it's really like a tool for like empowering them, to get
Hmm.
into like the sport, because it's very inclusive,
Yeah.
I would say. And then, like I said, like it's a lot of legs, not a lot of upper body. Um, and then to talk about the seasons, we start off in the fall, when it's warm outside, obviously. We kind of like, go indoors, hibernate for a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to like do something like, so the off season, I would say, is like starting like November until March. And then for LIU, we usually do like a trip to Florida. And then that's like our spring training. And then, we get into swing of things when we come back home. So like late March, I would say, starting of April is when the spring season starts, goes until like late May. I would
Yeah.
love to practice during the summer, but unfortunately, like, you gotta have like a team to, get on a
Right.
boat. I mean, they're singles, but I would love to, practice with the team. And I usually like go back to India over the summer, so it's a little
Right.
harder for me to practice. So I mean, I guess like May to August, it's kind of like an off season. A little
Yeah.
bit of like, I get a lot of downtime over obviously over the summer, but we're always training, like all the athletes are, I'm sure.
Yeah. I have so many questions, man. First of all, yeah, that's different, and I love it. I love it because, like you touched on, there's this perception, and a lot of it's true. I was a baseball player, so our season was pretty similar. Fall, when we first got to campus, fall was like a fall season. We didn't play any other schools, but we inter squad, we practiced, we ran that all the way through until Christmas break. Then we were responsible for training at home, and then when we got back, our first trip, we were going down to Florida in like February, right? So kind of similar.
Mhm.
We had a lot of time when you're on in your practice. We spent a lot of time with each other, and our team in baseball is about 30 to 35 guys, so
Mhm.
it's a big dynamic. But I'll tell you this, I have never came across a person with your story in my sport, and that's why I love that you're talking about it, because there's so many different ways to become a college athlete, and I think there's a lot of intimidation and left opportunities out there, right? And you're doing it at a Division 1 program, which is really impressive. But there's Division 2, there's Division 3, there's a lot of schools out there who look at athletics differently, and there's a place
Mhm.
for everybody, really. If you want to continue to play or start playing, there's somewhere to do it. And I think I don't know if you talked to him yet, but Jason Rodriguez, he did kind of the same thing. He was really set on, he knew what he wanted to do for a living, but he played club baseball. right? So it's not
Right.
necessarily the same demand as the team, but he found a way to be a part of a team and to still stay in the sport and do it. Um, so for you, are you one of a kind? Are your team or like is anyone else that you've
Um,
been with trained to get where they are?
so a lot of rowing athletes, I would say, like I think across the board nationally, are walk-ons.
Yeah.
Um, most of our team was they were walk-ons. Like a lot of my best friends that come out of like high school, they were recruited.
Hmm.
But most of like the guys' team, especially because rowing is like not like a technically an NCAA sport due to like
Hmm.
Title IX restrictions. Um, but a lot of like I said, like men's rowing is definitely a lot of like walk-ons. Every single
Yeah.
person on my team is a walk-on, but like a lot of them did like some sort of sports in high school. So I feel like
Something. Yeah.
my story kind of like I don't know, it's a little different. Um, but to touch upon what you like kind of mentioned as well, being an athlete is hard. Like it's a choice. And just like we had like a lot of people, join the team and quit due to
Yeah.
the reason that they were like, I mean, there's also obviously like personal reasons, and I kind of respect that. Um, but then there's like a thing of discipline that you have
Hmm.
to like stick around for the team. Like if it didn't matter that I was this short, like it didn't matter. Like I'm 5'7". I'm a lot
Yeah.
of like rowers are 7 foot tall. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
just to start
Taller.
with.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter like my height. Like there's a coach. He went on to become like a head coach of like this high school club. His name is Aaron. He always talked about like it's your mentality which drives you, not your height, not your weight, like
Yeah.
not who you are. So like he always, kind of encouraged me into like this mindset. He always like talked about the story of like a lion being the king of the jungle, like not
Yeah.
the tallest, not the fastest, but still like fierce and powerful, man. Um, and that's kind of like what I kind of um, looked at, and then try and channelize it into my kind of college experience. And my dad always says like, if you're trying to quit or if you do quit, like don't call me ever.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I
Stick with
had
it.
to like stick around.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it too, right? It's like you're learning so many lessons just by going through the experience, right? It's probably easier not to do it. I mean, think about all
Exactly.
obviously all the stuff you're doing outside of it, right? So
Mhm.
it's another thing that takes up time. Um, it's one of those sports too that's interesting because when you have football, basketball, baseball, soccer to an extent. Well, it's definitely
Mhm.
soccer, but more overseas. A lot of those people are trying to get to professional, right? And I know there's a professional
Right.
sport for everything, but mainstream
Uh-huh.
sports, that's kind of the driving
Right.
force of why you get into college.
Uh-huh.
And for someone who like, and there's other athletes like this who know, hey, these college days are my last day.
Mhm.
I appreciate that because you're drawing on a different mentality than what I had, right? Like we were
Mhm.
trying to go pro. That kept us in getting up at 6 a.m. and going to sprint club and like lifting and
Right.
study hall and everything that went through it. Like that was a big part of it. And of course, scholarship was a big part of it. Um,
Mhm.
how do you so what I am really impressed with and now where I am now, outside obviously graduated college and doing what I do, I look back at my college experience and I had a great college experience, but it was all about baseball, my team,
Mhm.
coaches being around it. That was 80% of my experiences. And the
Right.
rest being just being at school and
Mhm.
doing the college thing. But I didn't do much outside of sports.
Mhm.
And we honestly, I wouldn't say we weren't allowed. I mean, Coach Maines probably wouldn't like that, but we weren't allowed. There was no
Right.
time. There was
Right.
no time for it. So, how do you prioritize what you're
Mhm.
doing outside of sports, and how hard is that hard? And how do you do it? Is it something about being like regimented with a schedule? How do you break it down? How do you do it?
So I don't consider myself like a super organized person.
Hmm.
And I would like to, give the credit to our coach, and like she's very like, go out there, do these like other things, like try and try and sack out, like try and
Yeah.
do something with like other things, like other than like, rowing. And that's what I think like it bleeds into like my experience even as a rower, like in practice sessions. Like I feel like because I'm doing all these things, um, I'm able to, perform better in a way. Like
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Like I know ice hockey, like they play hundreds of games, but for rowing, like it's a little different. With like there's like two races,
Hmm.
a week sometimes during the season, and it's like only like at least like at most I would say like six races that I've competed like in a semester. So it's a little different.
Hmm.
With like a lot of sports being like a lot of like travel heavy sports.
Yeah.
I know football competes a lot as well as baseball does and hockey, all those like big sports as well. But with rowing, I feel like it's very flexible, at least for me, and then that's how like they structured our team and the practice time really helps. Like it's 6:30 to 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean I don't mind the early wake ups. I do mind actually, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Uh
Yeah.
but that, you know, kind of gives me like a head start to the day. And like, you know, I'm
Hmm.
not trying to like go on my phone. I mean, uh, there's time in off seasons, but you know, I'm not trying to get on my phone at like 11 o'clock at night when I have practice at 6:30.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
Totally.
it kind of like cuts off the like not like the time like which I should be using productively. Um, and then you know, it gives it like a better kind of purpose into like rowing stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
I feel like every single time I practice, um, it's like I know like sleeping does that too, but like it organizes my thoughts in like a
Yeah.
creative way. Like it kind of like forms links. And I
Yeah.
don't like not to get like little scientific about it, but like there's like a lot of like neural activity going on like when you
Hmm.
practice. So like it's also like you know just to keep yourself happy. And I know like people have said this like super often, but like the way you like grow or like the way you work out also kind of affects like your grades like
Yeah.
there's seasons in life that like you know I'm just like on my couch or like doing nothing, but then there's seasons like when I'm super busy and I feel like because I'm like busy with all these like things it kind of helps my productivity in a way. I know it's like a little
Yeah.
ironic, but that's how
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I think I say it all the time. Like I never lost the feeling of being an athlete, and it took a
Mhm.
while to adjust to when I wasn't. But the thing that I go back to is fitness for me. Like I working out. It's my way to.
Right.
That's the first thing I do in the morning. It's my way to
Mhm.
think. It's I take notes while I'm working out. I organize my day. More like I always organize my day on the weekend, but even then, like I make the adjustments. I just think clearer. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and I hope and I think it will be something that you won't lose. Like there'll always be that feeling of something that you need. And like I said, I turned to fitness. I turned to working out, going to the
Mhm.
gym to substitute what I was doing. Um, so tell me, and for those people, and I'm gonna say there's probably a lot of them, because again, I think if you've been to a student athlete before, you know what the SAC is.
Mhm.
But for the ones who haven't and probably have never heard of SAC,
Mhm.
what is it, and what is your specific role that you're taking on and trying to accomplish with SAC?
Mhm. Thank you. I love the question. I was you know looking forward to answer that. You know when we started the call,
Yeah,
um, but I feel like athletics gives like a sort of identity to a lot of athletes. Like just like you mentioned, like 80% of your experience was baseball, and then like just the 20% was because like you were at the school and you know you wanted to study as well
yeah,
as do athletics. SAC it's like a very like sweet spot between those two. That's just way how I look at it.
hmm,
It's again like I'll give you like the structure of the comedian, like and then I'll tell you what we're trying to accomplish specifically here at LIU. Um, SAC, which stands for Student Athlete Advisory Committee. I would the best way I'd describe it is like it's student government but for athletes.
yeah,
And then the way we structure at LIU is every single team sends in like 2 or 3 reps to this committee, and then we elect an e-board, and then you know they elect a president uh uh to like you know handle stuff. Um,
hmm,
what this year it was like a little challenging year for us because we were you know getting started from the ground up. It existed at LIU before. Um, but you know we like you know took an opportunity to better that and make it more professional and you know reach more people at
hmm,
hand. um and then what we're trying to accomplish is there's like a community service component to SAC, which is like as athletes we're not just athletes or students, but we're also like you know trying to better the community, how we could better like you know the people around basic
hmm,
just basic human intuition I feel like. But with SAC and then specifically NEC SAC is kind of like our governing body for like the 8 conference schools through the NEC, and then there's NCAA SAC, which is you know builds upon the conference SACs from like all across the country. Um, but with NEC especially, there's causes that they support. J Fund is one of the causes, and what J Fund is, in brief, I'll tell you, it's for family. It's to support families with people who are dealing with cancer. not just like, support with their medical bills, but also like a financial support, also an emotional support. And it kind of like, taking a step back and like I was thinking about like why we do what we do, but just thinking about like how this is gonna help somebody who I don't even know.
Yeah.
And then using my identity as an athlete to sort of better the cause and push it out to like a better or like a more broader community. Like I feel like that's just my main reason why I do it.
Yeah.
And also connecting. There's also like the always that component of connecting the administration to the athletes, and I feel like I'm a little hesitant to say this, but like I'm very well connected across like LIU,
Hmm.
so I could sort of act as a license between the admin and the student body, not just to like like, oh, you're not doing that, this, you're not doing that, but also recognizing all the work that they do, like our athletic trainers, I would say, for example, or like our business operations team. Like, who are they? People don't even know who are they.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do, like with SAC, is give them like a sort of recognition, because they are doing like they are putting in all the like hard work. Um,
Yeah.
but maybe not a lot of times do they get recognized as coaches do, or like as the athletic directors do. So I mean that's just how we're trying to like brand SAC as of now, and then there's
Yeah.
also like a really big like branding component that we're trying to like accomplish. Like, so Celine, she's on the volleyball team on the Brooklyn campus. She's trying to like really hard to brand like SAC through social media, so like other channels as well.
That's
Um,
awesome.
that's just like a little like brief of what we do here at
Yeah.
LIU SAC.
First of all, as a former athlete, I thank you guys, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we always wanted the representation. We always felt like we were misunderstood. We almost didn't have a voice. I can only speak for myself and like people I've been through it with, but there's this misnomer with athletes that everything is handed to them and it's easy, right? And then
Yeah. No.
once you get into the but like once you live in the life, it's the total opposite. It's
No.
total. Now
Totally.
there's people who want to help you. I'm not to say that, but
Mhm.
it's just hard. And for for you to take initiative on something that you almost have to restart to
Mhm.
represent those athletes is really, really cool. And I know people your age right now and who are in it might not know it now, but just to kind of give you some affirmation, like it's much needed, man. There's many people who benefit from it, and even the good causes that you have. I mean, look at the exposure that you're getting to causes, and that's huge. What is? Are you the president of CW Post?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way we structure it is, we have like a committee which is across two campuses.
Hmm.
We have an e-board which is also across two campuses, and then we have two presidents. So Emma is the president over at Brooklyn, and I'm the president here at Post. And then
Gotcha.
the main like reason we did what we did, or we structured how we structured is because like until like last year, I'm pretty sure it was like split across both the campus, or at least that's what they were trying to do.
Hmm.
But like as a lot of departments here at LIU, they're trying to like bring everything together. So with SAC, that's what we did, and then
Yeah.
I feel like the communication level, is just so much better, because it's like across two campus, and like there's also like you get more help with more bodies involved,
Yeah, for sure.
and
The
and
numbers.
sorry. Just to answer or just to add on to something that you said, it's really rewarding to talk to people like you, uh, who likes to come back
Hmm.
to LIU, or like give back in a way, and like
Yeah.
the broad alumni base that we have even through athletics. I had a meeting with the alumni relations people yesterday, and then they said like we have a really really successful alumni base, and nowhere really taps into that.
Mm.
And that's like one of our other things that we're trying to do with SAC is give back to the people who is trying they're trying to give back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
How do you
reach out to sorry, go ahead.
what I'm interested in is
Mhm.
how are you finding it communicating and being that liaison between both? How are you finding it bringing problems or bringing ideas to administration? Now, let's put it in perspective. These people, this is what they do for a living. They make their money,
Mhm.
right? So and I say that, I also say that same thing about coaches, right? Like they have their
Mhm.
job. Their job is to win, and they have and when you get to college, I think what one of the biggest adjustments is it's no longer like a high school feel, at least around here. It's no longer like that high school
Right.
feel. It's you have to do what you have to do and you have to get your job done. So you're speaking to adults who are in their professional careers.
Mhm.
How has that been for you to learn how to communicate? Is that something that you feel is coming natural, or is that something you're learning
Mhm.
from as you're doing this?
I feel like I was a very, very like it might be a little counterintuitive again, but like I was a really, really like shy person growing up.
Hmm.
Through high school, like I didn't really have like a much of like a leadership experience. But I feel like I, tapped into my other sort of like personality into like, helping people out. And not just being that, helping myself out as well, because like that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
With this, like I feel like I've learned a lot of like life skills in general, getting that proposal across and like, getting that budget or, getting this thing done, that thing done. Cause like you said, they're trying to like do this for a living. And then the really important thing that we need to understand is that like we're working for the same cause.
yeah,
We just have like a different like sort of approach to it because like they might look at it from like a budget perspective. They might look at it like from like a 10 years down the line perspective. And then we might just look at that from like our like micro perspective and then just aligning those sort of two like is very rewarding first of all, but it's also
yeah.
challenging to like get all the people across like the table, satisfied or happy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. And then how do you feel it's going? So you started this back up. I mean, it was around, but it wasn't the most
Mhm.
organized, it wasn't most put together. How do you feel you guys
Mhm.
have made changes to where you're trying to take it? Do you feel like you're going in the right direction?
So I would definitely credit the new administrative system that they like, set out. Elliot Charles, AD,
Hmm.
wonderful man. I feel like he like his force is, what got us together. And Jeannie is our senior women administrator. She handles SAAC and she handles all these like different things, but like she's just like a text away. If I want
Yeah.
to get this done, like I just, shoot her a text. So it's just like a thing of communication. I feel like it's just that's the only thing which we like got better this semester, and like we structured it in like a formal sort of way. Like we wrote a constitution. We had like these like group chats going on. We got like a Excel sheet with all the emails and everything. So just like getting more organized as well as just communicating, I feel like helped us transition into like a better sort of model.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then this might be a tough question, but is there one thing right now you're most proud of that you were able to that you saw a vision or that something that you started or an initiative that you see being created? Is there something that you're to this part most proud of that you were kind of like you look back at and you're like, wow, I did it, or I visioned
Mhm.
it and it came true.
Just getting people involved. It's a little
Yeah,
hard for because I give them again all the credit for this, but it's a little hard for going to classes all day and practice all day,
yeah,
and still coming back and like helping people out.
yeah,
Because A, you're not getting paid. Like we're not doing this for a living, and
yeah,
then B, there might be a lot of pushback. So like it's that kind of like grit. But I
yeah.
mean, as athletes, like we also persevere, and then we always we're set out to compete.
Right.
And then one thing that I'm like really proud of, again, I've kind of answered that question, but is helping every single team. Uh,
Yeah.
I know like a lot of teams don't get a lot of recognition, and coming from a team which is not like baseball, football, ice hockey, all those like mainstream sports, I kind of understand the gravity of the situation. Is that a lot of these like bigger teams are getting more money, they're getting more funding, they're getting more recognized. But teams like rowing, teams like I'm not going to name like other teams, but there's
Yeah.
also like some smaller teams that I mean they're student athletes, they're trying to compete,
Yeah.
they're doing like all these things. They're winning championships. They're doing like really good in classes, but they might not get that recognition.
Yeah.
And my goal, or at least like that's what I'm trying to accomplish until now, is getting everybody on board, not just like a specific team. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's totally, yeah, that makes sense. I tell the story sometimes. I started my playing career at St. John's, and
Hmm.
it was this is Big East when Big East was like the original Big East. It was a tough conference. We
Hmm.
were number 15 in the country. We just
Okay,
came off 40 wins, which in baseball you play
that's a lot.
53 games, so 40
Damn.
wins is a big mark. And it's
Yeah.
funny, man. Like you're we were it on campus, if you want to put it that way. And we would like, athletes tend to hang out with athletes or at least cross paths in
Hmm.
the way that St. John's is. You live off campus, so you end up not you don't, but you can move off campus, and most kids do in their sophomore junior years. And
Hmm.
we used to like hang out with the golf guys every once in a while, and no one ever knew who they were. No one knew
Right.
the golf
Exactly.
team. And then years later, we're looking and we're watching TV, and Keegan Bradley, who's one of the best golfers in the world now, still
Hmm.
was
Okay.
playing in a pro tour. And I
Oh,
remember
really?
looking at the TV and saying, "Are you kidding me? Like Keegan, right? Like, are you like if I had any idea about golf in college or who
Hmm.
he was, I would have approached it way differently." But what made me think of it is like just because the recognition is with the mainstream sports, there's still
Hmm.
so many talented athletes at the program that
100%.
don't get that awareness or that recognition. And without
Right.
the representation of people around them, bringing that out or helping them get involved or helping them get their name out there, it might not happen. Which so it's that's my point, man. Like there's no sport too small, there's no team too small.
Hmm.
It's just everyone's journey there is different. So again, I kind of just said it before, but that's why I really appreciate, and that's what drew me to you, is because I really appreciate someone who's willing to, because I'm sure you get a ton of pushback. I'm sure
Hmm.
people just don't know that they care or act like they don't care.
Hmm.
I know it. I'm sure that's the case. So that alone can be discouraging, but to keep pushing
Hmm.
and keep doing it is kind of working on, because what you're ultimately doing, man, is you're building yourself. You're building something. You're going through
Hmm.
things. You're working with across the table and proposals, all that stuff, all that knowledge isn't going to go away. You're going to use that forever. So just keep
Exactly.
plugging away at that. I really commend what you're doing. What's the plan? What do you want to do after college? What's the plan?
Hmm. I would just like to comment on what you said for
Yeah.
before about like a pro golfer. Funny enough, our golf team has a kid named Arjun. He's from India actually. He lived like right next to me. I didn't know who he was. Like I had like these like small conversations with him because we're from the
Yeah.
same country. But I happened to know after like a while that he was like on the national team for India, and he's
Wow.
still like I think he still plays on like the elite level over there. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. And he's
Yeah.
very humble, so like you can't even tell about like who
Yeah.
he is or like how great like of the like things that he's done. Um, for Brooklyn campus, we have an Olympian. Did you know that on the fencing
No.
team? I think he played for Egypt. I might have to like
Wow.
fact check that,
Let's
but
go.
I think he won bronze.
Let's
Um,
go. I like to hear
for
that. I didn't know
yeah
that.
the past. So like people we have people like these across the board at LIU and like that just and then also like future pros
Yeah.
they're getting trained here like just that like sort of like that's what drives me I feel like and
Yeah.
helping those people out also helping their teams out get better recognition I feel like
Definitely.
to answer your question
Yeah.
and then something else that you asked about after college um I was thinking about, like getting into finance, but this kind of like this opportunity opened my head to like more like sort of athletic administrative jobs or like,
Hmm.
going doing something for like a nonprofit organization because there's these other things like other than like, hedge funds or like big finance companies that I might want to get into. And then this position, just like you've mentioned, like it opened a lot of doors, and I could have something to say and to put
Yeah.
on my resume about like what I did and how is it going to help me in the future, not just to like leave it in my undergrad.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's what it's all about. And even I think,
Hmm.
I mean, there's some kids who do, but even when you graduate, you still might not know totally, what you want
Exactly.
to do. But this what you're getting to experience now, I really wish um that I did more of. I wish that I was more involved, because I think you're learning things now that, some of us have to learn in the real world when we're so dug in our sport and doing that aspect of it. And then once you, like, outside of SAC, you named a couple other things. What else is on? What else are you doing? What else is on your plate outside of
Hmm.
sports and on the SAC?
So like I've mentioned, I'm a physics tutor. Uh, these are just my jobs that I try to
Yeah,
like do here at LIU on campus. I'm a part of like the IT team through Browse. Browse is like a technology store
that's awesome.
that they like how help student get jobs. And then that's kind of like an extension into like the help desk kind of thing where they help out people with like networking issues or like just IT stuff basically.
Yeah,
Um, and then I'm also an RA on campus, so like I'm very well connected in like the res life community as well.
yeah. The All right. So I mean, most people who went know what that is, but for those who
Mhm.
don't know, or those are like, that are younger or going to college, what
Mhm.
is an RA and what does that entail?
So RA is just like a person who's taking care of the dorms.
Yeah.
To put it very simply. But I try to like take it like a step further. I try to like program these things where like I like bring in residents, to my office hours or something.
Hmm.
We have to sit at a desk as a part of like our job description, um, to just be there. For the
Yeah.
like people in the residence hall, like we put in work orders for getting stuff fixed. But we're not just that. Like we're also leaders, and we're
Hmm.
also I feel like that's just all the RAs here at
Yeah.
LIU, and like I'm pretty sure like across the board. Um, we're not just RAs as in like campus leaders in the res life. Like we do all these things other than res. I'm a SAAC president. There's like other very
Yeah.
accomplished RAs. So it's like a great way to get involved on campus.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously there's like perks, like you get like a free room.
For
Um,
sure.
and then like you're very better connected like to the
Yeah.
administration even through that role.
And it's not easy to be an RA, right? Like
Yeah, it's a lot of like three a.m. calls when I have like 6 a.m. wake ups for practice. It's a lot of like,
yeah,
final weeks like conflict resolution stuff like that. But at the end of
because
the
yeah,
day, I feel like that's what like creates me into like a better individual, because like these high pressure situations are like what's like I'm gonna get into after college, like
yeah.
a trading firm or something, like if I choose to go into.
And the universities really depend on you. I mean, you're
Exactly.
responsible for what goes
Mhm.
down, and there's always something happening in dorms. There's always
Yeah.
something going on, and
We're college kids. I mean, I don't blame people,
exactly,
but
exactly. College kids from all different backgrounds, all different areas, all different kind of personalities, all come in one place, and it falls on the RA to kind of make sure it stays
mm,
good. Um, and the perks of it are great. And the reason I like to talk about RA because I do think that's a great avenue. We also had someone on our team that was an RA. It was a lot of work to become an RA, but the perks were good.
mm,
But he had a lot of
mm,
work to do on top of everything else. Um,
right.
but it's fit his personality. But I do recommend people look into that. I do recommend
Yeah,
people,
definitely.
look into that
And
whole
it's just
RA
like a
role.
better way to get involved. Like if you're looking to do something, I know a
Yeah,
lot of schools like might not have it in their freshman year because they want you to get like a little bit more like acquaintance to campus, a little bit more experience.
yeah.
But if you're like trying to do it in sophomore years, which like LIU does, definitely I would say definitely get involved. And then there's again perks like a free room.
Hmm.
But then there's also like work that you have to do. But there's always like learning opportunities with everything that you do.
Definitely, man. Definitely. My big question to you is, and we talked enough for you to know that I think athletes continue to need a voice, but I also think
Mhm.
um, once you're an athlete on any sport at any level, we have this special bond, this special connection, only because we go through a lot of the same things. Being a college
Mhm.
athlete, you face a lot of the same hurdles, no matter what the year is, or you just kind of get it, right? Like you understand it. Um, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on you with this one. What is something that you think alumni can do to help, or what is something that you think as a student athlete you could benefit from anybody who's listening, from anybody who's still, you know, cares and is connected, that they could come back to, whether it be their university or a local university where they live? What
Mhm.
would be something that you think would be helpful for you as a SAC president or as a student athlete or just a student? Is there anything that you feel people who have graduated can do to help and give back to you guys?
I mean, I would just love to talk to them. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, what we're doing here, I feel like you were the first person to reach out to me over LinkedIn. Like, it's usually the opposite way. That like,
Yeah.
I reach out to these alumni. I mean, obviously, don't blame it on them because they don't have time. They have all
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things. Um, but it's always like there's a sort of like rewarding sensation to give back as an alumni.
Hmm.
Some people might think, oh, like I gave my like tuition, like I have
Yeah.
these like student loans, like why should I give back to an institution which took so much from me? But then there's also like it helps the university first of all, like even if it's like I'm talking about like finances, like even if it's like a dollar donation, it helps
Yeah.
like put your university like a better ranking.
Hmm.
Because that's like a metric that they look at. I'm not really sure like how that works logistically, um, but like starting with finances, if you can, donate. If you're not in a position to donate your time. And
Yeah.
I understand like a lot of people might be in like real world jobs, obviously after they graduate. Um, but I feel like just I feel like it also kind of like falls on a university to build like an alumni relations sort of team, and we have a great team here at LIU. So maybe just reaching out through email, be like, oh, like what can I do? And then I mean, they're gonna have like stuff to do for you. Um, Maybe like a career panel discussion, or just coming back and talking to these kids.
Right.
What we're trying to do with SAAC as well is an end of the year banquet, an athlete banquet. And then we're looking to, invite all these alumni to come and
Oh,
just
that's
chat
cool.
and mingle. So I'm definitely gonna like send invitations out to everybody once we, get a date and time set.
Yeah.
But just things like that. Like it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. Just the willingness of giving back. I feel like that's more than enough for me, and like I'll be really grateful. For people like you and more people who like to give back.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Well, listen, this won't be the last time that that they hear from you.
Yeah, definitely.
We're I'm looking forward to working with you. But in general, just staying in contact.
Mhm.
But that's great advice, and I think it's good for people to hear that. Just
Yeah,
reach out
100%.
and offer time. You know.
And LinkedIn, I feel like is a great resource.
Yeah.
Just to get connected because once you put in like your education at LIU, or any sort of college, like it connects you with people or like it gives you suggestions of like,
Yeah.
and then it has like mutual. It's a good like social media kind of thing or like an algorithm, that directs you to people that you want to like talk to. So
Right.
just going out there and not just scrolling TikTok on your phone, just trying to
Yeah.
like do
Yeah.
something else other than that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. I think the way you represent LIU, um,
Mhm.
I can only speak from someone who, like I told you, my old teammate. He's the head baseball coach there, Dan Perillo.
Mhm.
Shout out them for all the success they're having. But to
Mhm.
hear, I don't know how the athletic department is. I knew my AD, I knew what it was back then. But to hear from a current student there on what's going on at LIU and how it's being ran and what the opportunity is being presented to you guys. I think you're doing a great job of representing that, and I think you're doing a
Thank you.
great job of taking advantage of that. I'm a big fan of yours, and I'll be here to support you however I can. But I want to say thank you for putting the time out there and putting yourself out there, and then also keeping people like me in touch and involved because we do care about the school, we do care about how it's going, and we do want to help whatever way we can, and we'll do that. But I'm really happy to hear what LIU is doing for you, as a student, as a person, as an athlete, and I think you're doing all the right stuff, man. So just keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be really really successful, and you're helping a lot of people that you probably don't even know of yet. But I can tell you, you are helping a lot of people, man. So I'm really really proud of you what you're doing for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for your kind words. And the way like I've mentioned this before, but like the reason I do it is, just to help, but also to receive help. Like, cause
Hmm.
just talking to someone like you got me connected to all these people.
Yeah.
Um, talking to like I'm looking forward to talking to your committee of like the 35 individuals
Hmm.
to just learn from like everybody that's out there, not for like helping them, but like for helping myself.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of like I don't want to say like selfish kind of uh like connotation to this, but there's also like rewarding things that happen to you once you like start to give back.
Yeah.
Um so again, like thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, that's called networking, man. And it's not like I didn't find you because I just randomly clicked on a name. I found you because of you're putting in work and what you're doing, and I found you because you're putting yourself out there. So
Mhm.
that means you're using your time, your resources. So I know it comes off maybe it's sounding selfish, but it's the furthest thing from it. And that's what networking for the rest of your life is going to be: is just being about putting yourself out there and earning it, and then good people want to work with good people, and it kind of and that's a big message that I preach to our mentees and our clients is good people want to work with good people, and that's so you deserve everything that's coming towards you with that, and I know that our committee, we're looking forward to it, and I know we want to help people like you, and I know there's plenty more like you who would just someone that can answer any questions you have. You'll do the rest, and that's what we kind of look for: people who just have questions and want to improve and want to learn and want to listen. So, but yeah, man, thanks for coming on. This won't be the last time. We'll have a check back in. We'll
100%.
keep everybody updated what we have going on
Definitely.
here. But yeah, man, thank you for your time. And until next time. And then what I'll do in the description is I'll put your LinkedIn connection in
Mhm.
there, and anyone
Yeah,
who's
definitely
interested,
go for it.
um, I recommend reaching out, man. He puts out some good stuff. But
Mhm.
thanks so much, Rishi, man. It was awesome.
You too. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Take it easy.
All right.